Hello once again, ladies and gentlemen. Can we talk about Transformers? Ah, yes. Hello again. This is the Can We Talk About podcast, the premiere podcast for your review of 80s cartoons that is hosted specifically by a brother and sister tandem, and we are smack dab near the beginning of season 2 of our series. I was going to put du jour, but obviously this is not our series of the day, so series de cartoon. It is that series of Might and Metal, actual 80s cartoon classic, The Transformers. I have an arm that has a hand that is holding a gun. My name is Joe.
I am a Reptilicon. I'm Kristen. Joe, really quick. Can you imagine what I might say to you right now?
Roar?
What I'm thinking is, I don't think you can guarantee that we are the premier 80s cartoon review podcast hosted by brother and sister.
Oh no, do you know of a better one?
No, not off the top of my head, but I feel like that's still too broad.
Oh my god.
By a brother and sister in Florida and Pennsylvania, respectively.
Respectively. There, yes, perfect.
Yeah, there
yes.
we go. We just need one more layer.
And we are watching The Transformers Generation 1 via Tubi, which is a free streaming platform with intermittent commercials. Tubi has the broadcast order of Season 2 of Transformers, so if you're watching along, please take note. If you watched Dinobot Island Part 1 in preparation for this episode, you were not quite right. Kristen, have you watched anything fun over the various streaming platforms on this internet of ours this week?
Just so many different things. I am still playing Stardew Valley. I thought once I got around 100 hours that I would kind of peter off, but here I am approaching 200. So that's pretty exciting for me. I also finally watched Wild Wild Country.
Ooh, that was a good one. I watched that pretty much as it came out.
I tried watching the first episode twice, I think, and it kind of started really slow for me and just couldn't hold my attention. Once you get to the end of the first episode, I was like, what the fuck? It was a very good documentary.
What you need to do next is watch the 2-part episode from the series Documentary Now, also on Netflix, that parodies Wild Wild Country.
All right, I will put that on my list of 10,000 things I need to watch. Our Netflix has been very confused because we recently got our account reset, and Madeline and I have watched like 3 episodes of Jeopardy.
Nice.
All of Wild Wild Country.
Good.
And the first season of 13 Reasons Why. So the algorithm is really confused about what it thinks we want.
Yeah, I'm just not a fan of the fact that now stuff that was watched on my profile specifically is just like, hey, don't you want to watch The Witcher? And I'm like, no, I already did, actually.
Yeah. Joe, my thing is recommending a little thing. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Stranger Things.
Oh, hey, how about that? 3 seasons? How did I miss this?
It's crazy. I haven't even watched the fucking season 4 trailer. I don't give a shit. That show's lost all my goodwill.
And my suggestion, even though I watched it a while ago, would be just a Documentary Now on Netflix, because it's a series that's all just parodies of various popular documentaries that have come out, which I haven't seen all of them, but there are a lot of them where I get the general gist. Other than that, I started watching the Sentai series from 1986, Choshinsei Flashman, which is fun.
Speaking of parodies of things, the Empire State Building.
Wow, good transition, Kristen. This week is an episode called City of Steel. And Kristen, it makes no bones about where it takes place. As you said, the very first shot, it's definitely New York. While also, I'm going to say, Kristen, I don't think it maximizes on the New Yorkness of the episode.
We spend quite a lot of our time in New York under New York.
Yes, it's the fucking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because they're in the fucking sewer the entire time.
And we get told that they plan on going to Central Park at some point, but we do never see Central Park.
So, City of Steel, let us get steely. City of Steel, written by Douglas Booth, who gave us many episodes in Season 1. And Kristen, honestly, this feels like, I forget if it was Douglas Booth or Donald F. Glutt on the Transformers wiki, where their quote was that they would just slap together a script in an afternoon, like a first draft, and Hasbro would be like, yeah, that's good. So
That is kind of what this feels like.
We start on a panning shot of New York City here, and we know this, Kristen, because there is the Empire State Building.
And also the Statue of Liberty.
And Lady Liberté, of course.
So all those classic New York things. So we get like a tracking shot of Laserbeak, like this is a fucking movie or something.
Kristen, this shot with Laserbeak lasts so long.
And like, I'm happy to see my cutest dude Laserbeak again. But we have no idea what's going on. You know, Joe, now maybe could have been an okay time to use that narrator that they like so much.
You'd think. But no, we need to spend 45 seconds with Laserbeak flying through New York City, using eye lasers on a manhole.
Yeah, his telekinetic eye lasers.
Making TIE fighter noises in the sewer.
And then he uses eye lasers on a door to open it, and it turns out there's just a whole Decepticon base down there. When did they build that?
The Constructicons are there, and they seem to work pretty quickly, so...
I guess so.
And also, after all of that, Kristen, Laserbeak just flies into Soundwave's chest, and Soundwave doesn't even... Soundwave takes a little while to report things. We gotta they need you to take in the air of the Decepticon base first.
I feel like everyone's on a little bit of a delay this episode. Maybe, like, they're still connected to Wi-Fi back in Utah.
Scrapper is complaining here, Kristen, because apparently the rest of the Constructicons built this underground base all fucky, I guess.
It never comes up, really.
It doesn't, but all it does is it offers Megatron the opening to tell them to stop nagging one another, to keep working, and stop nagging one another like hyper-driven chatteroids, whatever that might be.
What, you don't know what a chatteroid is?
We finally get the report from Soundwave here, Kristen. Laserbeak was apparently just on Autobot lookout duty, just looking to see if there were any Autobots, and it begs the question, Kristen. Why the fuck would the Autobots know that the Decepticons are in New York City, considering their first, inkling of action is all the way back in Utah?
I mean, who knows what it is exactly, the threshold that has to pass through Teletran to be like, hey guys, Decepticons are doing something weird, for them to be like, let's go to New York. I feel like I understand their paranoia, as extreme as it seems.
So Scavenger smashes his bucket against the roof of the base here, which he does a few times, and
there's
has
a lot of construction equipment working in ways that I'm pretty sure it don't in this episode. Which, again, very interesting that I spot that, considering I'm not even a toy truck kind of kid.
You're not even a hard hat man, Kristen.
I know. I'm not a Witwicky. What can I say?
The debris from the ceiling falls into Longhaul's truck bed here, and Longhaul, for some reason, Kristen, complains that he is a dump truck, even though he doesn't want to be the team's dump truck, and yet he is the dump truck because he is literally a dump truck. The fuck do you want, my man?
He didn't choose to be a dump truck. Maybe in general, he's just lamenting his life.
Mixmaster is called in here to finish the job, and we see, Kristen, that I say that we find that Mixmaster has a speech quirk now, but apparently this is the only episode where he has it.
And it's not even really that consistent, because here he repeats the word at the beginning of his sentence, and then later it just turns into him, here's the thing that I'm saying to the Autobot, bop, 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 bop.
So he, repeats words at the start of his sentences, unlike Shrapnel, who does it at the end here, and whatever he shoots at the ceiling, Kristen, just makes a big section of rock fall through a hole in the ceiling onto like a lift.
So, I'm not 100% sure what kind of functions a cement truck has. My brain tells me shooting a weird piss laser that cuts stone, okay, so then...
There's a lot to unpack here, Kristen. Take your time.
It begins to sink down in a block.
Yes.
And if it just sunk down a little bit, that's one thing. It turns out that they have cut around the perimeter of the Empire State Building, and the entirety of the Empire State Building ends up underground.
Yes, that is correct.
How fucking far underground are they?
Not very far, Kristen, considering I believe that Optimus falls into a hole later, and he falls about 3 stories, it feels like.
Did they just, dig another square hole real far down underneath that? They also build their new base.
Very quickly.
Extremely quickly. I don't know. It's... I guess there's really no point in asking questions.
Well, Kristen, we get the response from the surface here, which is the very Saturday morning cartoon villain line of, "The Empire State Building is sinking!"
Whoa! Everyone keep an eye out for Carmen Sandiego.
And we get a transition here, Kristen.
She would just make it disappear whole cloth. She's better than that.
Carmen Sandiego is way more smooth than the Decepticons at everything. So, Kristen, we get a transition here, and I'm going to refuse to make the transition noise because I counted, and there are. Kristen, do you want to guess how many transitions are in this episode?
I will lowball you to make it more interesting. I'm going to say 10.
21.
And they're really front-loaded in the episode, too.
There are a lot of transitions in this episode.
You told me that in advance, and when I was watching it, I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa!
So that's the first one. And just on this one page that I have here, I see transition written 4 times, so...
And not a lot happens in all these scenes.
And keep in mind, Kristen, my notes are double-spaced,
Yep.
so you can't fit too much on one page. So, transition. The Autobots are all kind of standing around here in the Ark as they are watching the news report that Kristen, experts are baffled by the Empire State Building sinking into the ground.
To be fair, we didn't even look, but the Empire State Building is gone.
Optimus knows this is Megatron's doing, so Kristen, it's time for a cross-country road trip.
Whoa! I imagine this has to be how they managed to build or begin construction of New Cybertron. Is that right? New Cybertron?
I believe, yes, New York is rechristened New Cybertron at one point in this episode.
It is the name of the entire planet. Wouldn't it make more sense for it to be New Iacon?
Iacon was the Autobot city, Kristen.
Whatever. New Decepticon.
Yes, the Decepticon city. New Decepticon!
Yes, and instead of the Statue of Liberty, it's Starscream in a dress.
Hell yeah.
Anyway, I imagine their road trip from Utah to New York, they, stopped at a bunch of places, did some sightseeing.
Kristen, Roxy is driving from LA to Philadelphia. It's gonna take some time.
I mean, yeah, but we aren't really shown anything but her going from point A to point B. The Autobots, we have no idea what they were up to.
Bumblebee rushes out here, and Spike has to chase after him. He wants to go on a 49-hour car ride to New York City.
And weirdly enough, no one thinks to say, you know what? Probably no Spike.
At the very least, Optimus tells Sparkplug to stay behind because he needs to tell Wheeljack to meet everybody at Central Park.
He doesn't actually need to do that because they do have radios, but whatever.
Famously small and centralized Central Park.
I mean, they're big robots. It's fine, right?
We get another transition here as the other Autobots are on Ultimate Doom hydrofoil things approaching Liberty Island, so...
They're too good for the Lincoln Tunnel.
I was confused at first, Kristen, because I was not aware that there were 2 groups of Autobots. It didn't occur to me. So I was just like, oh, so the Autobots are driving from Utah, but somehow also ended up on the eastern side of New York to use hydrofoils. Did they miss it?
Wait a minute. Turn around. No, we went too far.
We're in the ocean now. Fuck.
Spike has a paper map, and he's like, shit, shit, shit.
And I also put here, I'm just going to assume that they circled the globe the other way around.
You know what? If they went over the water, maybe that was faster.
Laserbeak catches these Autobots approaching here, but there's no way they can... okay, so Hound is with them, and Hound has a gun on the back of his Jeep, and they don't even bother trying to shoot Laserbeak.
They're like, oh no, Laserbeak saw us. Oh well, too late.
We get another transition here to Optimus and company arriving, followed by another transition.
Yep. I would love to know if there was any kind of written criteria in the Transformers Bible about what necessitates a transition. Or am I giving it too much credit to think that even exists?
There's a lot of confusing things here because I assumed at the beginning of the episode all the time that we spent following Laserbeak was because okay, they need to pad the episode out a little bit. But there's stuff that happens later in the episode that makes it seem like shit was cut from the episode. So I don't know. There seems like there's a lot of fat that could be trimmed at the beginning of the episode that just wasn't, and then they realized, oh fuck, we're out of time.
I wonder if at some point they were like, okay, we could put more scenes in between these things, technically, yes. But also we don't have any money left. So I guess it's a transition. Laserbeak
squawks to Megatron here, relaying that all of it, not even jumps into Soundwave's chest and plays back, hey, look, oh no, that's Laserbeak. And Megatron's like, oh, just goes, meh. And Megatron's like, yes, I understand, of course.
He speaks bird.
Scavenger and Longhaul are tasked here to help the Autobots with a terminal welcome that really only ends up being applied to Optimus. Megatron laughs, and we get the 4th transition in a minute. The Optimus gang arrives here. Spike gets out of Bumblebee as they are confronted by Rumble and Frenzy and Soundwave, which surprised me, Kristen, because they do the Misfits finish each other's sentence here thing.
That's right, they do.
Which I feel like Soundwave is above.
Maybe he just doesn't care enough to fight. I know he's in charge, so that's kind of sad.
Like, Rumble and Frenzy are goofs, so I could see them definitely doing it, but Soundwave seems like he doesn't want to waste his synthesized breath doing stupid shit like that.
I do have a Soundwave-centric complaint about this episode. Can you guess what it is?
Is it when Optimus throws him, Soundwave goes, ah?
No, I love that. I love when that happens. It's that we have an episode with Rumble and Frenzy and Buzzsaw, or whatever his name is, and Laserbeak.
No Ravage.
No Ravage.
Wow. Yeah.
This is twice now this has happened.
The first time we're seeing Buzzsaw of all cassettes, and no Ravage to be seen.
Come on, put him in that concrete jungle. He's a kitty.
Also, I put here, of course, Rumble equals Roxy.
Mm-hmm.
Frenzy equals Pizzazz.
Mm-hmm.
Soundwave equals Stormer.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
We get a robot fight here as a lot of nothing happens. Bumblebee gets zapped by Soundwave. Frenzy and Rumble both do the pile driving thing, even though that's only supposed to be Rumble's thing, although it just ends up carrying over to Frenzy anyway as well, because fuck it.
I was going to say, what is Frenzy's thing then?
It's supposed to be like super big sound waves. Not like his big guy Soundwave, but like Soundwave, like destructive sound waves.
I mean, is punch in the ground not just kinetic sound waves? I don't know.
Whoa.
Whoa.
There's also really funny animation here of Ironhide just falling over.
Yeah, you're just kind of like, no.
It is worth noting, Kristen, the animation in this episode looks awful.
Everyone, okay, well, maybe not everyone. I noticed specifically with Megatron that he looks off model.
This was animated by a studio, ACOM, who is not the normal studio who does Transformers episodes. Normally it's Toei. But occasionally, when you got, 49 episodes in one season, you got to ship the stuff out to another animation studio, and they're not very good.
Megatron has big, kawaii, goo eyes, and his whole face is a little bit too big for his head.
You'll notice, potentially, Kristen, or you might notice more, there's a lot of just, like, the character model reference image of just, like, the Transformer in a neutral standing position. These episodes that are animated by ACOM have a lot of that. A lot of just, it's normally just they're standing at, like a 3/4 profile, sort of, and their head is pointed towards the camera. There's a lot of that.
Yep. It's like they looked at all of these dumb robots and were like, we have to draw all of these moving? No wonder Mirage shows up again in this episode. They're like, he's invisible. That's good.
We gotta draw him facing a different direction? Fuck that!
Absolutely not.
We join Megatron, Scavenger, and Longhaul here as Kristen, apparently the Decepticon base just kind of goes all the way under Central Park as well, because
the whole thing is just under all of Manhattan, I guess.
All of Manhattan, I guess, yeah. So Scavenger again smacks the ceiling with his bucket, which is
That's not how that works.
Wait a minute, how does this work, Kristen? Considering how far Optimus falls as well, how long was Scavenger's fucking bucket to hit the ceiling?
So here, based on the depth I saw of the hole that Optimus falls through, it makes it look like they're like a pie's crust width away from them.
The ceiling goes up very high, apparently, yes.
He gets thrown up there. What happened is he didn't shoot up his arm bucket to hit it. He was thrown up and his bucket happened to hit it.
Perfect. So the ground crumbles directly under Optimus's feet, and there's also just a wonderful, like, not much other sound, just Optimus, like, going, whoa!
There's a part just a little bit after this where we return to everyone kind of in their fight to the death, where the noises to indicate that they are fighting are like 2 full tin cans of soup being mashed against each other.
Optimus falls directly into Longhaul's truck bed here, and nobody's, like, holding him down or anything. Optimus is just chilling here until Megatron saunters over and hits him with a paralyzing agent.
He zip-zaps the part of him...
his tummy.
...that lets him move. Yeah, I guess his tummy. And he's so hungry for the rest of the episode that he cannot move. Except for when he can!
Welcome to the wonderful world of suspended animation.
I have no mouth and I must scream.
Megatron flies out of the hole here, threatening the Autobots that unless they leave New York, he's just gonna melt Optimus down, basically.
He should have just done that.
Megatron claims the city is his as there is a transition, and Kristen, apparently, in this time frame, as we mentioned, the Decepticons just rebuilt the Empire State Building.
So my guess was maybe they just added cool shit to the outside of it.
No,
like
it's a different
decal.
It's a different shape. They put flames on it to make it go faster.
Yeah, exactly. They put weird Deceptiparts on it to make it Decepticon.
No, it's basically just a big, bulky Space Needle now.
It looks pretty cool. I'm now starting to appreciate the Transformers Devastation thing a little bit more.
Megatron christens the city as New Cybertron. And the Autobots are still hanging out as this happens because there's like a very...
Oh, man.
Yeah, there's just like a very concerned Ironhide off to the left of the screen as Megatron says that he will turn Optimus into paperclips if anyone tries to stop him. And as Longhaul drives off with Optimus still on the truck bed, that is the end of segment 1.
Transformers have paper clips? Transformers have paper?
Don't think about it. Segment 2 starts here. The city is being evacuated. Wheeljack and the others have now met up, and Wheeljack is lamenting. Things would have been different if I was there. If I had an invention blow up in my face, things would have been a lot different.
So they meet a bunch of traffic, and they say that everyone's being evacuated and everything. But aren't they going into the city? Do you think that was just the leftover traffic from people being like, oh shit, and as soon as they get into New York, they turn right back around?
I think this is the Autobots leaving, but Wheeljack and the others met up between segments 1 and 2.
They just go right back anyway. But then they take a left, according to GPS Spike, and get back into the city. So you know how I had some issues with, like the, exit that Roxy left on in Roxy Rumbles, where I'm like, that's not where that is.
Do you have an issue with the fact that Spike says, hey, Bumblebee, take a left here, and they go off the right ramp?
I mean, also that, yes. But in general, considering what a choke point it is to get into New York, it's just weird to see them be like, this is fine. There's really not that many options, but they're like, over here right now.
We get another transition. Megatron is gloating over Optimus here, saying, soon I'll have all of North America in my grasp. First New York, then, Newark.
I think he's starting too big. It's the Excel Saga thing. All of Japan, too much. Start with F City, F Prefecture.
There you go, perfect. So, Megatron just a big old metal Il Palazzo, of course.
Of course.
Megatron is uneasy here, Kristen, because even though Optimus is in suspended animation, as he says, he's very concerned that Optimus is strong enough to somehow will himself out of it.
I mean, he's not wrong. He's not right, but he's not wrong.
Hook comes up here. He jumps up on Longhaul's truck bed and takes out a lightsaber.
Yep.
No bones about it, it's a lightsaber.
Yeah,
There is another transition here as we just skip all that because we don't want to animate Optimus getting carved up, I guess.
Now that he just gets dumped out a long haul in a bunch of pieces.
Megatron commends Hook's work here, turning Optimus into a bunch of fucking Legos, and he alas poor Yorix with Optimus's head.
And they have people multiple times do a thing where they, like, twist around some of the wires coming out of his neck, and that somehow allows Optimus to be sassy. And be sassy out loud at them.
Yeah, Optimus says that as long as he has any working part of him left, he is going to fight. So he uses a weird psychic link that he has with his body for the rest of the episode, which is incredibly stupid.
Yes, it is.
And commands his forearms and hands to grab Megatron's ankles and flip him.
He's like, haha, fuck you.
Megatron says the Constructicons can do what they want with Optimus's pieces, but the head belongs to him.
Why didn't they? Here, don't. Again, maybe I'm the asshole. My first thought was, you know what would be a good idea to do with all these pieces of Optimus?
Melt them down.
See, I was going to say put them under concrete, considering you have a concrete mixing truck right there.
Nah, we're gonna use his legs.
Build an alligator.
We get another transition here. The Autobots all apparently swam to a big fucking sewer entrance with Spike on Bumblebee's shoulders.
They could have found a better way to draw Spike on Bumblebee's shoulders, because here's the thing, he is not on his shoulders, he's on his head. He's straddling his head, holding onto his horns. That seems like one of the least comfortable ways he could have done that. Why didn't they just have him holding him like a princess?
Our team here is Spike, Bumblebee, Hound, Ratchet and Mirage, and since they can't have Megatron find him, Mirage does his Mirage thing, turning invisible to scout ahead.
Thank God Mirage is there. We don't have to animate someone scouting ahead.
And thank God we have Hound, because Hound just quickly explains, I could track him, so we're not going to lose him.
That's fine. We could also see him splashing through the water like that amnesia monster that splashes through the water, but whatever. I'm pretty sure, and now it feels like a kind of a hollow victory to claim this, when I saw Mirage and I saw him turn invisible, I was like, oh, there's Mirage. Cool. And then I'll be able to track him. I was like, ooh, I think that's Hound.
Oh, nice.
Because my brain first went, Prowl? And then I went, no. You keep doing that wrong. That's not right.
I don't know how you keep making that mistake of messing up the green Jeep with the police car.
Their names evoke similar aesthetique for me.
Fair enough.
Hound, Prowl.
Hound, dog, police, of course.
Prowl also dog.
There you go. Perfect.
2 dogs.
We see the Constructicons have finished up doing shit with Optimus here, only having his arm, which is still gripping his ion blaster here. Apparently, they can't get it out of his hand.
He's like, over my deader fucking body.
Scrapper can't remember the word damage for some reason, because him just... I don't know if the Constructicons have enough of personalities yet, Kristen, because they just...
See, at least the Dinobots are stupid, so that makes them kind of fun. The Constructicons just hang around like, yeah, we've always been here, so you know what our deal is. And I'm like, no, I don't.
Yeah, the Constructicons alone are kind of boring.
Because it seems like they have different personalities, but I don't know. Like, here's the main problem, Joe. It's that they're all the same fucking colors. And when they're robots, I don't know which are which.
Makes it a little difficult. That's true.
Yeah, so I can't keep track of anything. Also, like, 2 of the names keep falling out of my head, but that's a separate issue.
Because, yeah, as they're walking through the underground here, Scrapper wants to put Optimus's arm where it will do the most.
In my own particular, idiom, sir? Yes, idiom.
Man, I love when Monty Python and the Holy Grail, characters just gain traits just in the middle of scenes for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
King Arthur just can't count to 3.
It's almost like it's just fun, good comedy writing.
So we get another transition. The Autobots are wading through the sewers here, and Hound gets a signal that Optimus is not in front of them anymore, but behind them. And what is behind them, Kristen?
Joe, can you imagine how confused I was when this happened?
It took me a few seconds, I will admit, where there is this alligator monster who is coincidentally red, white, blue.
So my brain was like, Dinobot? And I just stared and I was like, no, who is this? I really feel like if they had done more of a, like, dramatic sting of, like, you know, camera, wow, what is that monstrosity? I would have realized it's something new that I wasn't supposed to recognize. But he just kind of shows up like, yeah, it's me.
It's just something the Constructicons built. It is an alligator robot made from the pieces of Optimus Prime. And they could just do that.
They call it a Reptilicon.
I'm pretty sure Bumblebee and Spike refer to it as an alligator con at one point, too.
Why do I bother?
Oh, fuck. So it scares off the Autobots here, even though they outnumber it 4-1.
Mm-hmm.
Although, you know, it's true. Hound does mention that if there are, like, sounds of battle, it's going to alert Megatron, so he just decides to rip the back off of a subway train instead.
Like, logically, yes, I understand that, but my brain is also like, how many miles long is this base that you think he will definitely hear you?
Kristen, who knows? Ravage could have been waiting in a corner somewhere and we didn't even know.
God, what a missed opportunity.
Their plan is to lure this alligator monster into the subway train here, which Bumblebee and Spike jump into once it follows them.
So, the sewers are connected to the subway?
Yes, I guess.
Would you say, Joe, that the MTA is shit?
Certainly smells like shit occasionally.
It's not great, but I can't really talk. One time I was simultaneously in a Broad Street Line car in Philadelphia here that smelled like piss, very strongly of piss, and also there was an iPad on the floor right near my feet. And I just didn't know what to do with any of that information.
Piss pad.
Another time there was an unopened brisk iced tea sitting on its base on the floor of the L. And I thought to myself, does this belong to the man sitting next to me? Or can I just pick up this iced tea and take it? I eventually left it to him to decide what to do with that iced tea.
So Spike gives a good yay as they jump out here, and Ratchet hotwires a system that activates the subway train somehow, Kristen.
There is also a manual lever that they use to change what track it's on, and thank God they know about this transit system in order to make, like, fun jokes about where he's headed.
Next stop, Madison Avenue, Park Avenue. Get the fuck out of here.
See you later.
We get a transition as the alligator man goes for a fun ride.
I almost expected to not see him again.
Megatron orders the Constructicons to work here as they're, I guess, just transforming more of New York City into more of a Decepticon base here. And a weird thing happens. It's very quick, and I did not notice it the first time here, Kristen. Skywarp just picks up a car and shoves it into Mixmaster.
Yeah, that's what a cement mixer does. It is a metal scrapping machine that spits out girders.
Full girders!
Mm-hmm. Not once do we see Mixmaster use any cement.
Starscream gets his first line 11 and a half minutes into the episode here as
I was furious.
As he's just like, Reflector, I gotta hand it to Megatron. He's doing a good job. Is this the real Starscream, Kristen?
After that, no, oh my God, Joe. It's like how, what is it? Fonzie can't say thank you or whatever. Again, was that it? I know he can't say I'm sorry.
You were under the impression that Starscream can't compliment Megatron.
He's just like, what I'm thinking right now is that this plan might be a good.
Reflector does not say anything here, even though he is directly addressed. So even remember when I said in Autobot Spike that Reflector had no more lines? That still rings true.
It's very sad.
Transition again, for fuck's sake. Directly read from my notes.
We have a lot to cover here still. I have to admit, for whatever the fuck is going on in this episode, a lot happens. It felt like 10 times longer than it actually was.
It took me 3 separate sittings to write notes for this entire episode, Kristen.
Yeah, it just keeps going. Do we need to speed up here?
Optimus's head is just hanging out on a shelf as the Autobots arrive here. Ratchet does the wire trick to let Optimus talk, and apparently, Kristen, Optimus he lets out, my legs are nearby. I can sense them.
I thought about that when you said it, and then my brain connected to, okay, maybe that's not that unreasonable. I can also sense my legs.
Kristen, wouldn't that be a fucking nightmare? You're disassembled, but you're like a fucking Zambo. You could just move your shit around if you want.
It sounds like fun. And he's a robot. He's in fuel pain anyway, as far as I know.
I mean, he screamed when he fell before, so who knows?
That was just out of fear. Robots do feel fear.
Oh my God. Can you imagine feeling fear but no pain?
That is true hell on earth.
So, Optimus's legs are just in the other room here, Kristen. I thought they were being used as, like, literal legs for a table, but for some reason the Constructicons were just like, what do we want to do with these? And then they did nothing with them.
I'm just hanging these out over here. So, what I really like is I did wish partially that his legs would walk themselves over. But what happens instead is they get, like, caught up in a psychic field and just fly over, which is maybe better.
Hound finally realizes that the reason that he picked up Optimus's signal behind them is because he was in pieces, and then Bumblebee and Spike smack their heads at the same time like, oh, fuck the alligator robot!
In retrospect, maybe we should have realized that. Is this body horror also?
I mean, okay, Kristen, let's try to put this into perspective here. Your torso and one arm are used to create a reptile monster of some sort. That seems kind of body horror-y to me.
I think so, yeah. Especially, like, you get that back, all those pieces later, and for some reason, Optimus just hears his chest going.
Is there a reason that the Constructicons didn't use the other arm, or was it just like they tried putting it on there, and it's like, well, it looks like he's holding a gun. That looks stupid.
Maybe partway. Okay, so I have 2 different explanations for this.
Please.
The first is partway through, they were like, oh shit, wait, actually, what if we put the hand with a gun just on top of the thing, on top of the tower, and it shot people for us? And my other thought is, what if they originally had both arms on the Reptilicon, but then it was like Trogdor's beefy arm sticking out the back of his neck with the gun?
See, that seems a lot more intimidating, but I guess they did want to... The alligator's in the sewer, the gun arm in, like, a sentry position on the top of the Empire State Building. That can do some more damage, I guess.
I feel like this might have worked better if they had made some kind of Scorpionicon.
So we transition again here. The alligator robot seems to just be back where they started. Like,
I'm just hanging out here. Do you know how long it took me to walk all the way back?
Just found his way back to the sewer here, like respawning like a Dark Souls enemy.
Mm-hmm. And then they wrestle an alligator.
Yeah, Ratchet, Mirage, and Hound are on alligator wrestling duty here as Spike looks on. Bumblebee is holding Optimus's pieces as they're just watching this happen.
And they are like, this is really hard. We're having some difficulty wrestling this thing. And Optimus is like, let me see if I can wow. And I don't know what this does exactly. There's a strange piece of animation where he aims his psychic brainwaves a place that they aren't. And
yes.
They just kind of pop up from the bottom of the frame, and things are chill.
And then a weird thing happens here, Kristen, like an audio error, where one of the Autobots goes, "We got him!" Or should we say, "We've got you!" And then two layered voices go, "This alligator is big and heavy," like with that delivery.
Was that like a placeholder line? What happened there?
And then Optimus says, from the looks of it, I'd say a little bit of both. Like a little bit of big and heavy? What the fuck are you talking about?
Or we've got him and we've got you, and that other line just wasn't anything?
That's definitely what he's supposed to be responding to, but they left this line in the middle for some reason.
All of the Autobots are just completely and utterly socially inept.
So this alligator is big and heavy line, I just think wasn't supposed to happen. So a transition happens here, and Optimus is mostly back together, just missing his arm.
I feel cheated out of the scene of them putting him back together, but whatever.
He uses his sensors to determine that his arm is above ground, and Mirage is tasked with wrangling all the Autobots back together as we get another transition.
Whoa! Okay, so Wheeljack and everyone is very impressed by the work that Megatron has done to Manhattan.
Not just Starscream, everybody's like, gotta hand it to Megatron, it's looking pretty
Love
good.
what you did with the place.
Bluestreak is the first to notice here, Kristen, that Optimus's arm is, like, positioned on top of the new Empire State Building in, like, a
Is that
sentry.
who that was?
That is Bluestreak, yeah. Not doing as much of a Casey Kasem voice as he normally does, but it's definitely Bluestreak.
I've still literally never noticed it once anyway.
Transition number 18 here. This is where I started counting them.
Just remembering it makes me a little bit, like, motion sick.
Megatron gets the information that Optimus Prime is all back together here, and here's where we get the thing, Kristen, where Megatron and Soundwave are just watching what the Autobots are doing at all times.
Mm-hmm. They just got cameras everywhere. I mean, it is their city now, so maybe for once I accept this. That maybe they set up cameras and they know what's going on above ground.
Megatron orders to fire here as segment 2 ends. Soundwave is slamming on the fire button like he's playing Space Invaders and trying to shoot down the Autobots at ground level here with the blaster, which apparently it can pin all of them down at once, much like Skyfire.
Yup, one gun. The quickest prehensile arm with gun in the West.
Segment 3 starts up with the Autobots splitting up here, and Kristen, there's a lot of stupid stuff in this episode, but I feel like at this point, my eyes glazed over, and there's all the stuff with the taxis and shit here. It was just like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, I really feel like we can't really cover everything in immense detail, or we're going to be here for another half hour.
We will talk about this, though, because
yes,
this is also confusing. Bluestreak and Hound are the first to drive off, and they drive immediately into a hole that is in the middle of the road.
That might have been my favorite piece of animation in this episode.
We hear Scrapper say, "Just in time to take the A-train," as we see Frenzy, who is colored like Rumble first. So honestly, Kristen, who the fuck knows who it is?
Yeah, it doesn't matter at this point. Like I said, I always have a 50-50 shot at getting it right, so I just do whatever my heart tells me in that moment.
Driving a subway train, finishing the sentence going, "Before the A-train takes you."
Hey, he's so happy to be home again.
What the fuck?
This is my neighborhood.
The A-train.
The A-train.
How did Bluestreak fire on the subway, which doesn't really do anything at first, and then it just eventually blows up, and that's it?
Again, the transit system in New York is volatile at best.
What the fuck what was the point of that?
That wasn't even anything that the Autobots did. It just, that train was going to blow up anyway. Transition 19, Joe!
Bumblebee, Sunstreaker, and Asswipe are driving together here when they get tailed by some radio-controlled taxis with freaking sharks with freaking laser beams on their head, Kristen.
The resolution to all of this, they're called battle taxis also, come on. So they jump the taxis, and Optimus is coming in the other direction. He is transformed without one arm, so he's missing a chunk of his head. Or his truck head, whatever. And he just kind of demolition derbies their problems.
So, first of all, Optimus sees them drive past. Like, everybody drive past. And he's like, aha, I might only have one arm, but I can still transform. And somehow, the next time we see him, he is in front of everyone else, and then, yes, bowls over the taxis here, as well as drives past, like, through Constructicons who are all in, like, gunner positions at the base of some tower.
It seems like if the Transformers could just ram into each other and win, they should probably do that more often.
Optimus, I feel like, is at his most effective when he's just ramming into stuff.
That doesn't say a lot of great things about his leadership skills.
Also, of course, even though Optimus has to run down all these people with lasers, everybody just, like, stops firing or completely misses in order for this to happen.
There's a handicap on.
Transition 20!
Woo!
Optimus rolls into the scene and says, that's one way to cool it, Ironhide, when Ironhide wasn't doing anything.
Is he saying what I just did was cool?
I think, Kristen, we're missing a potential part that was cut from the script of Ironhide using his freeze hands to do some freezing.
That's crazy, Joe. Shut up.
It's time to lend myself a hand. And an arm as well.
And also maybe a gun.
Optimus, shut the fuck up. Oh my god. Ironhide fires a grappling hook here, which produces, like, 2 separate lines as well. Like,
he has a pulley going through his arm.
It's like a twofer. It allows Optimus to go up one of them, and him and Ratchet to go up another.
Whatever.
Bumblebee and Spike see this, and they want to help as well, which...
We don't see what their goal is, actually, until a little bit later, when their plan just happens real fast.
We'll get there. Soundwave points out that the arm cannon can't hit the Autobots from this angle, so Megatron calls in the jets at this point. And Kristen, what happens
Well, also, can I be pedantic really quick?
Please.
The arm has an elbow. So its range of motion is pretty fucking good, actually.
So it can kind of twist around to try to hit them.
Yeah, like it shows it like panning from side to side like a security camera, but then also it has an elbow.
Maybe the control they have over it isn't super great.
It seems like it's amazing though. I don't know. Tell me about what happens with these jets.
Kristen, the jets are so fucking inept that they fly directly through the tower instead of like pulling up so they miss.
At first I thought that was somehow part of their plan, but then they act as though the Autobots have damaged them and they're like, okay, fuck this.
Thundercracker, after flying directly through a building, is like, okay, I need to land, please.
That actually hurt really bad.
And Starscream, relentless, I guess, is just like, no, you cowards, I'll do it!
And of course that goes great, because it always does.
So Kristen, Asswipe uses a jetpack here, and he gives Starscream a noogie until he says uncle.
I have a big issue with this, because the actual exchange is blah 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 until you say uncle, and Starscream is pretty quickly like, uncle!
And then he flies directly into the Atlantic Ocean as well.
Yes, he takes a little bath. And then Asswipe looks at the camera and he goes, I didn't know Decepticons had uncles. Like, do you? What does that mean?
Okay, a lot of questions for this one.
Decepticons have paper clips, which means they have paper.
My thing is, so Sideswipe is just adding in a little bit of Earth flair to his assault on Starscream. Fine. Whatever.
You want to hear some cool Earth lore I learned? Uncle.
There's no reason for Starscream to go along with this. Shouldn't his response have been, what?
I don't know if he instead was told like, I'm not gonna give until you say Bandersham.
Uncle Droid.
I'm just thinking like a nonsense word. And if Starscream's reaction would be, I have no idea what that word means, but I would like you to let go of me now, please.
Megatron calls for the ultimate weapon here, Kristen, which...
That's just Devastator.
Is just Devastator.
Mm-hmm. So, I'm glad he shows up at least. If you're gonna go through all the trouble of having Constructicons around. I almost called them Destructicons.
Oh, Destructicons.
That's what they should have been called.
Devastator, Kristen, did you...
Deconstructicons.
Deconstructicons. Whoa.
Whoa. We're getting too deep.
They love watching Madoka.
That is a weird niche joke.
They love watching Neon Genesis Evangelion.
I mean, them and me both.
Kristen, did you notice that Devastator switches between both beady eyes and a visor?
No, of course I didn't.
Devastator starts climbing the Empire State Building here like King Kong. Now, Kristen, I say like King Kong, and Wheeljack is so kind in a few seconds here.
One time, I saw this movie, and it was called, like, King Kong or something?
Do you remember during Autobots Spike when we were like, oh, Frankenstein, nice, I see what they're doing, and then they played a scene from Frankenstein?
So is this just, like, the period of time in when they're like, okay, season 2, I guess we're inspired by movies now?
Kids are fucking stupid.
Is the next episode gonna be fucking Casablanca?
Bumblebee and Spike somehow made it up to the area where Soundwave and Megatron are hanging out. Like,
we're here now.
With no plan other than
we came through the front door. 1,
be a distraction, 2, run away. That's it.
I thought at first, like, oh, are they trying to draw them away specifically for some reason? No. Megatron just kind of, you know, after them. Until he accidentally shoots his own console.
You dare insult me in my own command post. And then, yeah, Megatron fires on the fucking computer that Soundwave was sitting at for the second half of the episode.
And Soundwave's like,
And he can't control Optimus's gun arm anymore. Whatever. Okay, so Bumblebee and Spike run away. Laserbeak and his cool gold cousin Buzzsaw are ejected to take care of Bumblebee and Spike. Now, Kristen, let's talk about Buzzsaw real quick. Buzzsaw is the cassette that comes packaged with Soundwave.
Okay.
And it is literally just the Laserbeak mold with a gold sticker.
I mean, you gotta make your money somewhere, right? I mean, you have to make Soundwave. Soundwave needs to come with a cassette. I like that logic, because if he didn't come with a cassette, bullshit. But you want to sell Laserbeak. Who would buy Buzzsaw? You want Laserbeak and Ravage together.
They packaged Laserbeak with either Rumble or Frenzy, and they packaged Ravage with either Rumble or Frenzy. So that's how they made you buy 2 of the same mold, but in order to do that, they just made it 2 different characters. But anyway, they get ejected to take care of Bumblebee and Spike. Devastator refers to himself...
Bird Brothers, go!
Devastator refers to himself in the third person throughout all of this. You got me, Kristen.
I'm sorry, I thought you were the one with answers on this podcast.
Apparently, of the episodes that I watched, not many of them included Devastator.
Weird, I wonder why.
So, Megatron says that Devastator will destroy Optimus Prime, and I will be master of all.
Again, you're getting ahead of yourself. Just do Manhattan first, and then, like, start branching off into the different boroughs.
The other 4 boroughs.
Yeah, come on. Well, I guess at the same time, dream big.
Back on the building, Devastator caught up to Optimus pretty quickly here. So he grabs Optimus, like King Kong. So the role of the damsel in distress will be played by Optimus Prime.
As always.
As Ironhide and Ratchet are smashed into the building. Devastator continues his ascent here for some reason, just so we could do the King Kong thing, I think.
Just so Wheeljack can go, I get that reference!
Because Wheeljack went into God mode here and spawned himself 2 fucking attack helicopters. As he's just like, so okay.
I invented a new thing, they're called helicopters.
And I put a control thing in there because I saw this thing called King Kong, and...
Everyone's just like, Wheeljack, please just do something, stop talking.
Okay, so he does, and then the missiles don't do anything.
No, so that was just there for Wheeljack to be like, I've been watching AMC.
At the very least, Kristen, Hound is there like... You know what? It's okay. I bet Devastator watched that movie too. He saw it coming.
I mean, who hasn't seen that movie, really?
Ironhide and Ratchet hear Megatron screaming for Devastator to destroy Optimus Prime, and they realize, oh, wait a minute, we're a floor directly below him.
Hey, idiot. Pew, pew, pew.
Megatron and Soundwave fall through the floor and then crash through the floor that Who the fuck made this tower, Kristen?
The Constructicons, and they did a shoddy job.
They really did. Jesus.
In retrospect, really enjoy the amount of people falling through floors in this episode.
Bumblebee and Spike appear on the roof somewhere. It might be the Empire State Building. It might be some other building. To tell Optimus that the Decepticons don't have control over his arm anymore. And then suddenly they remember, like, oh yeah, Buzzsaw and Laserbeak. So... They dive bomb Bumblebee and Spike, but do absolutely nothing. And then Optimus uses his psychic powers to swat at the bird cassettes, who happen to get very close to his arm for no reason.
They thought the arm was their friend, a lovely perch that perhaps they can make a bird nest on.
A robo-nest on.
A robo-bird nest. But Joe, we're still in dire straits here, because it is going to take more than an arm to beat Devastator.
Good thing this arm has a hand that's carrying a gun!
That has a barrel that might shoot and affect damage.
So one blast from the ion cannon sends Devastator tumbling here.
He's like, ow.
Ratchet and Ironhide manage to catch Optimus as once again we get more falling through the floor as Devastator and all the Constructicons breaks apart but falls directly through the road.
There's such a great piece of animation as they're both falling, where we see Ironhide from inside of the window or hole in the wall, whatever, that he is at, and you see very, very slowly Optimus falling on the other side. He just kind of leans out and grabs him, and potential energy isn't a thing. Don't worry about it. His head should have popped off, but...
The Constructicons fly out of the hole here, and they're just like, no!
Also, why is Ratchet even there if Optimus can just put himself back together whenever he wants to?
Megatron decides, Kristen, that they need to retreat because apparently New Cybertron is destroyed, even though... I mean, the tower took some damage. You got the Constructicons, you know?
Yeah, the frustrating thing about this part is they fly off and he's like, fucking forget this, I shall return. And immediately after this we get a transition and the Autobots are just leaving.
The Autobots they rebuilt New York City, Kristen.
We don't see proof of this as far as I can tell.
He says it's back the way it was. Somebody says it's back the way it was. And that's it. That's the brush that we're painting with here. And apparently they waited until after everything is over to reattach Optimus's arm as well.
He wanted to see what it felt like if he hadn't gotten that arm back. A very brave, majestic story of a survivor.
Optimus calls for the transform and roll out here as Bumblebee drives directly toward the camera, and we see that he has an I Heart New York bumper sticker. And Kristen, that is the end of the episode. That was City of Steel. What the fuck?
See, when we were talking a little bit about thoughts of this episode, I don't think I agree that it's the worst episode so far. I'm not sure what I would say is the worst episode so far at this point. I need more time to ruminate on that.
You'll probably say A Plague of Insecticons.
Honestly, yeah, probably. But there's other contenders in there for sure. This one, it was just kind of like, you know what? Weirdly enough, and maybe this is my own brain just being stupid, I'm like, this reminds me of the breakneck pace of Broadway Magic, but just without the hang glider convention.
Another New York episode, you don't say.
I feel like when they put things in New York, they feel the need to be like, and now we're here, and now here, and now here, and now here. Reference.
No hang glider convention in this one.
No hang glider convention. Subway, yes. No skateboards. No typewriters that type in cursive.
Honestly, I feel like this was, like I said, one of those things where Douglas Booth showed the scripts to Hasbro. They leafed through it, not even read it, just flip the pages. Just how many pages we got here? That's enough. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Send it out.
Just find something to do with this.
Start animating it.
It was already being shipped off before Douglas Booth could grasp it back in his hands and be like, wait, at least let me write a final draft.
Which, hey, occasionally we're going to get episodes like that. All I have to tell you to look forward to, Kristen, is the studio that animated this episode, ACOM, animates basically all of season 3. So, according to the Transformers Wiki, they only do 3 episodes this season, and then Hasbro's just like, oh, we don't have to pay Toei that much. Get the other people.
Ooh, yikes. Well, I hope they get a little bit better by then.
Now's the point in the evening where we'll list off all of the fun contact things, where you can find us. You can follow us on the Twitter machine at cwtapod. You can follow me at Octopus, which is AWKTAPUS.
You can follow me at Marina Kazam on Twitter. That's Marina_Kazam.
You can find us on the Apple Podcasts, on the SoundCloud, on the Stitcher Radio, on the YouTube even. Leave a rating, give a review, do whatever you feel like. You can also drop us a line here, cwtapod@gmail.com, where you can tell us all about how a single star being destroyed... Oh no, I didn't change the shit from the last episode. A single star being destroyed threatens the universe, and any chips you might have inside you that make you a grumpy goose.
You can tell us about that movie you saw called King Kong.
There you go.
And the birds that live inside your chest. And check out my short-lived podcast solo project that is not dead, ASMR Relationships, the podcast equivalent of listening to gossip that has nothing to do with you. You can find a link to it in the episode notes. Follow it on Twitter at Reddit Gossip. Once my life is a little bit more together, I'll be doing more, so give it a listen.
Next time, Kristen, will be Attack of the Autobots, which I hope is as much of a B-movie plot as it sounds. I hope it has something to do with, holograms or something. Or...
I really want to believe that this one will also be based on a movie.
Ooh, like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, except
Or
Transformers.
like Attack of the Clones.
Whoa. Wow, Transformers predicted Attack of the Clones.
Wow, and they didn't do anything to stop it.
For the Can We Talk About podcast, my name is Joe.
I'm Kristen.
And join us next time when the Autobots will attack.
Checks in the mail.